Hello, 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 and thank you again so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Again, my name is Andrea Banu, and so today we have to talk about Miss Joy Reid. You're seeing it all over legacy media as well as all over the internet. Miss Joy Reid has gotten bad news. MSNBC has finally canceled her show. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. We're going to address it. So go ahead, get yourself something to drink, and let's start the show. Okay, yes, thank you so much for again joining me today. If you have not already, please do subscribe and click that bell notification button so anytime I load something new, you can be notified. And so getting started, Miss Joy Reid, as I stated earlier, and as you are well aware, has been fired from MSNBC. And there's a lot of conversation about it. You know, she actually put out a statement that I'm going to play for you because she is very, very upset over this. She is in tears over this, and she did address her fans. So before we get into the commentary and my reaction, let's go ahead and watch the video to see what she had to say.
That what I was doing had value, and in the end, had value, and in
let's see, let me get all the way to the beginning. Okay,
I'm sorry. That what I was doing had value, and in the end, I'm sorry. I try not to cry on TV, and this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folk.
And so I didn't play the entirety of the statements that she made because she does go into a lot of topics that were important to her that she thought she was bringing attention to. And as you see in the beginning, she says, you know, she really believed that her show had value and that she was making an impact. And I don't disbelieve that she believes that. However, we are very aware that MSNBC's ratings, as well as CNN and all legacy media, their ratings are declining. We have seen that over this election cycle, and there have been many news reports about specifically Joy Reid's show pretty much doing the worst out of all of those shows over at MSNBC. And so now that this has happened, I don't think anybody's surprised, and I'm actually taken aback that, or maybe she's not surprised, but maybe this was going to happen, and there were going to be some other cuts that she did not think that this could quite possibly happen to her. But I want to read an article that I just pulled up in regards to what happened to a lot of legacy media during this Trump and Kamala election, so that people can truly understand the impact that social media had on this election. So let me go ahead and read that. So Joy Reid loses Trump battle as president's biggest TV critics melt away. It says MSNBC host Joy Reid, who spent years criticizing Donald Trump, is the latest news anchor to experience a career setback since the Republican returned to office. The liberal-leaning network is canceling the Reid out. and replacing it with a panel show hosted by Democratic strategist Simone Sanders Townsend, writer and host Alicia Menendez, and Michael Steele, the former chairman of the Republican National Committee. A source familiar with the situation told Newsweek. Reid appeared to confirm that her show had been canceled on social media, writing on Blue Sky in the early hours of Monday morning Eastern Time that she would present the readout one more time. Here she is on her show. Reid is not the only casualty at a left-leaning news network struggling in the ratings since Trump began his second term in January. In January, CNN anchor Jim Acosta, who had gained a reputation for his antagonizing questions toward Trump during his first term, announced he was leaving the network after nearly 20 years. Acosta's decision came after CNN said it would move his 10 a.m. show to a midnight to 2 a.m. slot. The shakeup at CNN is part of a larger reshuffling at the network after it laid off 6% of its workforce. But while the efforts to ramp up its digital strategies come amid a general decline in cable news viewership, it also comes at the beginning of a new Trump era. Let me skip down here. A vocal Trump critic. There is no indication that Reid's highly critical views of Trump directly resulted in her show being canceled. The decision is part of a major overhaul overseen by the network's new president, Rebecca Cutler. Danielle Vinson, a professor of politics and international affairs at Furman University in South Carolina, noted that MSNBC has seen a drop in viewership after November's election, with Democrats deciding that for their own sanity, they need to dial back their news consumption. And so there you have it. We have been seeing this for some time. The writing has been on the wall. During COVID, CNN lost a lot of viewership. A lot of the public came to the realization that they just might be being lied to with regards to some of the topics surrounding the COVID pandemic. And a lot of people started to step away from CNN as well as MSNBC, and we saw their ratings decline. Now, here we are in 2025, and right on the cusp of 2024, we saw those same networks continue to decline. And it has also been said that a lot of people are gravitating toward Fox. We know that Fox is a lot more Republican leaning, definitely in support of Trump. However, people really were just tired of the fear mongering. So even though there were viewers who may not have supported Trump, they really just wanted an authentic representation of what Kamala was representing. And it didn't seem like CNN or MSNBC was actually giving that to its viewers. They were just pushing fear mongering and to hate Trump. And he's a fascist, he's a racist, he's all of these horrible things, and really wasn't focusing enough time and energy toward the Democratic platform policies and who Kamala was as a real candidate. And so we saw a lot of that viewership shift. And so while CNN and MSNBC were struggling, Fox continued to increase. And so they are thriving right now. They've been doing incredibly good in terms of legacy media. And as you know, the grassroots here on the internet have played a vital part in a lot of that viewership going down in regards to legacy media and cable as a whole. And so I do think it's unfortunate. I'm definitely not going to get on here and celebrate the loss of Joy Reid's job. I know that, of course, this was important to her. It was meaningful for her. I was not particularly a fan. I never watched the show. However, she obviously had an audience. But as time progressed, that audience got smaller and smaller. And so I was thinking, like, what would I say to Joy Reid if she was a girlfriend of mine in this moment? And I would say, Joy, that this needs to be a moment of self-reflection. Yes, her sentiments are very different than most most Republicans, or maybe even most Americans. However, I think that Joy needs to take a step back and really evaluate the why. Why, did she pursue journalism in the first place? Why did she feel the need to be used by these news media outlets in the way that she allowed herself to be? And then she should ask herself, why did she genuinely feel that, she contributed to her community? Did she genuinely feel like, or I'll say if she felt like what she brought to cable network was valuable, if she genuinely feel like the causes that she spoke of were valuable to her community, why was it not well received amongst her community? Why is it that Black viewership just never really welcomed her or gravitated toward her? Why was it that she never could really tap into the pulse of her community? And also, why is it that when you didn't even have Black support, that now other nationalities no longer favored you? And so, although you felt, Miss Joy Reid, that what you were doing had value, the masses did not. And so, although that may be a harsh pill to swallow, I think that is why this needed to happen. We all have a purpose. We all have a walk in life. And I think Miss Joy Reid really needs to evaluate what that purpose and what that walk should be moving forward. I always say it to my husband because it's something that stood out in the movie OJ versus the United States, where Johnny Cochran is speaking to Christopher Darden in the movie, and they're going head to head with regards to this OJ case. And I remember Johnny Cochran says to Christopher Darden, pick a side. And for that moment in time, I just felt like it was incredibly impactful because Christopher Darden was known in the community. He was, seen as being for the people before he started working for the prosecution. And as you know, Johnny Cochran was defending OJ. And so for Johnny Cochran, like we know, the OJ case to be was quite racial. And so I guess I would ask Joy Reid to pick a side. You know what your values are. You know what your desires are. And if they are genuine, if you genuinely want to build and help create and help inspire and help educate your community, then you're going to have to stand on that. And that is going to be the news and the information that you have to bring to the people and the community. It feels like it is a new day to where these politicians, these journalists, they cannot be so far removed from their own communities to where they just sit high on a hill and spew whatever rhetoric a executive tells them to. You're going to eventually have to come home. Okay? You're going to have to come home. So when you're finished being used and abused, you have to reevaluate. Reevaluate your stance, reevaluate your position, evaluate your purpose. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, you always want to know exactly what side you stand on. And so that's all the advice I have for Miss Reid. And so for those of you who have been watching and, have seen that mainstream media has eliminated Miss Joy Reid, what is your opinion? A lot of people are crying, are shouting racism, 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 racism. They got rid of Joy Reid. Well, maybe it is racism, or maybe she just wasn't that likable. Maybe she just wasn't that entertaining. And maybe her views weren't that valuable. But what say you? What's your opinion? I would love to continue this dialogue in the comments. So if you have not already, please do like, share, and subscribe. Again, I thank you so much for joining me this evening on the Community Ledger, and good night. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and watch the next video by clicking right here.